Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. I am your host, Lonnie Jones. My wife Jackie and I moved to the city of Huntsville in 1986 for me to be a youth and family minister. I have been a minister since 1980. I have served in this community as a police chaplain assigned to a SWAT team since 1992, and I've been in private practice as a licensed professional counselor since 1998. I'm also an adventure educator and an avid outdoorsman. I dabble in rock climbing and I goof around with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Our life has been full of many wonderful experiences and some just outright adventures. I used to write about those things in a little church bulletin article. So now instead of asking you to read those things, we're just going to talk about them in our podcast. And as we talk about them, we're going to talk about the facts. The facts lead to concepts, and the concepts lead to application. One caveat about the facts is, for the most part, we're going to tell you the facts just as they happened. But every now and then, we're going to tell you the way other people have told us they remember it happening with a little bit of embellishment. It's all good, clean fun and for educational purposes. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy Keeping Up with Jones. Faulkner University announces a 60% tuition discount for members of the Church of Christ. Now, there are some guidelines. This 60% tuition reduction is applicable to adult undergraduate Bible degrees or graduate Bible degrees from the Curley Graduate School of Theology in the VP Black College of Biblical Studies. You must satisfy all admission requirements and maintain satisfactory academic progress. You must remain continuously enrolled, including summers, until the completion of the degree. You must provide a letter from an elder or minister, preferably on church letterhead, verifying that you're an active member of a Church of Christ congregation prior to your initial enrollment. This offer applies to adult undergraduate degrees such as biblical studies, youth and family ministry tracks, and it also includes graduate degrees. And those are the Master of Arts in Biblical Studies, the Master of Arts in Family Life Ministry, or a Master of Theology, and it also applies to the PhD in Biblical Studies. For undergraduate inquiries, please contact Adult Enrollment, 334-386-7140, 334-386-7140, or Adult Enrollment at Faulkner.edu. That is Adult Enrollment at Faulkner.edu. For graduate inquiries, please call 334-386-7539, 334-386-7539. Graduate enrollment at Faulkner.edu. That is graduate enrollment at Faulkner.edu. Faulkner University is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. TKM Incorporated in Moss, Tennessee is a construction company that specializes in erosion control, seeding, and soil, hydroseeding, hydromulch, minor excavation, and silt fence. They also provide traffic control and construction signs. Their business is keeping people safe, but their passion, their mission, is they wish that all men could be saved. TKM has adopted the nickname the King's Men because as they serve you, they also serve the King. If they could provide any of their services for you, please contact them at 931-243-3958. That is 931-243-3958. Or you can contact them on the net at tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. That is tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. TKM Incorporated is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. The vest I was wearing said U.S. Marshal. And of course, I'm not a U.S. Marshal. I was with a U.S. Marshal, and we were hunting The Indiana Jones murderer. The crime had taken place when two men got into an altercation lubricated by adult libations. The victim had taken a remonstrating posture and was displaying his martial skills, a boxing stance, and elaborate flourishes with his hands, reminiscent of the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the big swordsman is spinning the giant scimitar, and as he is brandishing his weapon with deadly precision, Indiana Jones just shoots him. So you should be able to put two and two together and know why it's called the Indiana Jones murder. I'm wearing a Marshall vest because the tactical Toyota is in the shop, and I was driving the original vehicle, the original tactical Toyota, but it is absent of the tactical toys. I don't have a helmet. I don't have a vest. I don't have my radio. I don't even have a toolbox on the back of my old truck because now it has become the mulch mobile. I had been in the truck and had driven to training. And I had to leave training because of an urgent call that came out involving some other police matters. I'd run that errand, and as I returned to the range to meet the guys in the training building, the SWAT guys were leaving in a caravan. So I just turned around and I followed them. And then we linked up with the Gulf Coast Fugitive Task Force, and they were going to go look for this offender. One of the marshals said that I could ride with him. And as we rode there, I explained why I was so poorly equipped. And he said that he had some extra soft body armor that he let me wear. Now, you must understand, clearly, I am not a police officer. I'm not a marshal. I'm not a cop. I'm not a bail bondsman. I'm just a chaplain. Now we get to the target location, and the guys are about to enter the house. I'm kneeling behind the marshal's car, and into the street where all this is going on, this work truck pulls in. It's got equipment on the back. It's got ladders on the top. There's two guys in the front. I'm not sure why anybody in their right mind wants to drive down a street full of marked units with guys in helmets and body armor and a shield and machine guns. But then I'll admit I don't fully understand human behavior. I motioned to the guys in the truck to stop, and they did. Now, they didn't leave. They just stopped, and I guess they wanted to watch the show. Well, while we're all sitting there in kind of this stalemate waiting on the entry team to do their thing, a dude comes walking up. Well, I motioned him that he should go back. He saluted me and he walked away. And in just a few more minutes, a small black car with tinted windows rolls into this intersection or into this joining street that we're at. And so I make the hand motion for them to turn around. And they begin the process of navigating a 3-point turn with the police cars, the canine car, the work truck, and the marshal vehicle. They're trying to wiggle themselves out and go back the other way. I look back toward the team, and you got the guys in the front yard about to make the entry. You got the guys standing behind cars providing some cover. You got several guys standing around with body armor and machine guns. And in the house just next to the guys standing there, this lady pops out, and she fast walked, if not trotted, between a group of fully armored and armed SWAT guys and me. And she goes right past down the driveway and turns the corner to the edge of the fence. And the element team leader yelled, "Lonnie, don't let them leave." I edged away from the vehicle I was using as cover. In my mind, I rehearsed the takedown that I was planning to use while simultaneously running through my mind why it's my job to stop her when she just walked by a group of guys with machine guns. But nevertheless, I decided, okay, this is how we're going to do this. One must keep in mind clearly that I am not a cop. I'm not a police officer. I'm not a marshal. I have not been sworn, deputized, nor blessed with the ability to apprehend felons. And this often gets confusing. Bear in mind that if we're on a scene and I explain my presence to someone who is in any way, shape, or form vaguely inebriated, and I explain to them what I'm there and what I'm doing, without fail, these words will be said when they explain why they are doing what they're doing. Well, the captain told me to stand here. No. That is chaplain, not captain. In 33 years as a chaplain, I've never needed to use a weapon or any kind of a force while being with the other officers. It's clearly stated in the chaplain handbook in our policy that chaplains don't use, handle, or operate city equipment. But it's also in the policy that we are under the direct orders of the officers we are riding with. If they tell us to stay in the car, we stay in the car. We stay in the car till they get back and tell us to move. It doesn't matter how long it takes them. If they tell us to get out of the car and get in the ditch, we get out of the car and get in the ditch. If they tell us to get out and help, we get out and help. If that's push a car or move an object out of the road or move a body, we do what we've been told. And so here I am, and I've just been told, don't let them leave. I've only been in this situation maybe 2 or 3 times in 33 years. We're on the perimeter of a barricaded suspect. This guy had fled from a warrant, and he was holed up in a hotel. This was years ago. This is when we still had pagers. Aubrey Johnson and I had just come back from a seminar where we'd listened to Friedrich Wentz from the University of South Carolina, and he did his seminar on suicidology. And so Aubrey and I are coming back, and my pager goes off, and we stop and have to use a payphone and find out what's going on. And so when we get into the Huntsville city limits, I switch places and let Aubrey drive, and I'm in the passenger seat, and we drive to this scene. And they recognize me and they see my ID. And so they let us go through the blockade. I roll out of my little car that I owned at the time, and Aubrey drives away. And so I'm standing here in this perimeter of this barricaded person. And in just a few minutes, Captain Nixon walks up to me. Captain Nixon is long since retired, but he walked up to me and he points out these 3 large individuals. They were standing at the edge of the crowd on the parkway. And he said, those 3 guys are relatives of the dude that's in there. Okay, thanks for the heads up. Don't let them in my perimeter. I'm sorry, sir. Don't let them in my perimeter. Sir, what do you mean? I mean, don't let them in my perimeter. So here I am, the unarmed civilian, and I've got these 3 very large dudes that may or may not want to come into this perimeter. And I've just been told by the captain of the Special Operation Division, don't let them in the perimeter. I really don't know what my options are. I walked over, introduced myself to the guys, pointed out that there's a McDonald's just up the street. It's cold outside. It's misting rain. Why don't we go in there and sit? And we can talk about what's going on. We can talk about that the police are there to keep everybody safe, including their relative. I'll buy them some coffee and we'll pray. And sure enough, they complied, and I was able to keep them out of the perimeter. On another occasion, an officer and I were on the scene of a very bad motorcycle accident. And we were for lack of a better term, we're at the morgue. And the deceased, the person who had passed away in the wreck was back there in parts. And her boyfriend came in. And he came down the hall and he wanted to see the body. And this was a body that no one should see. The officer with me had a very distinct northern accent, and I remember him clearly saying, "You don't let that man back there." The man in question was a very young, very large, very extremely fit individual, and he was not going to not be allowed to not go back there. And so he starts walking toward us, and the officer reiterated, "I said, don't let that man back there." And I'm kind of standing between him and the door and the young man, and I said, "Sir, what should I do?" I said, "Don't let that man back there." So I stood there and said, "Excuse me, sir, but my captain said not to let you back there." And he sort of bowed up and fronted me and said, "And who are you?" Most non-military people don't really know what a chaplain is. And so I felt like that might not be a good explanation. He seemed to be a little aggressive. He seemed to be a little irritated. And so I looked him dead in the eye and said, "I'm a servant of God." Now, not exactly Gandalf confronting the Balrog at Khazad-dûm, "You cannot pass. I am a servant of the secret fire, a wielder of the flame of Andor. The dark fire will not avail you, the flame of Udin. Go back to the shadow. You shall not pass." It's probably not the same dramatic effect, but when you look at a young man dead in the eye and go, "I'm a servant of God," they step off. It had the desired effect. He didn't try to push past me. He didn't try to get aggressive. He just stayed where he was. So here I am in a similar situation. And I've just heard, don't let them leave. Now, maybe I'm a little bit emboldened by the new federal marshal vest that I'm wearing, and I'm ready to impede the progress of this small, well-dressed lady. Now, she's just walked by guys with guns, so I'm probably going to have to ruin that blouse. I mean, that silk blouse is not going to go well with this rear takedown I'm planning to do if she does not comply with what they've asked me to do. And I sure hope she doesn't have any of those ridiculously long pointed stiletto or mountain peak nails that becoming popular. I see everybody with these sharp pointed nails. Ladies, nobody wants to date a supervillain, okay? Fix your nails. Anyway, I'm not sure if my body language gave me away. I'm not sure if there was confusion on my face, but as I stepped out from behind the marshal's vehicle and sort of squared up as the lady was approaching me, Dave yelled, "Stop the Uber! It's her ride." Speaking of supervillains, this looks like a job for Captain Ridiculous. He wasn't telling me to stop the young lady. He was trying to get me not to let the car that I just told to turn around and drive away because it was her ride. You see, she'd walked by the SWAT cops and apparently he'd explained, "Hey, that's my Uber and I'm trying to catch it." Well, she could see that he was about to pull off. So she started running and the whole thing became a miscommunication because I saw her run by the cops and I heard the cops yell, "Hey, don't let them leave." And I thought he was talking about her, not the car. Well, I ran to the car finally, having been given proper understanding, and I flagged him down, and I even opened the car door for the young lady, and she ran to me, and she got in the car, and she said something explaining that it was her Uber, and she was very pleasant, not knowing she was mere moments away from being able to call Alexander Shannara. And my defense would have been, yeah, but they said don't let them leave. The lady was the only them that hadn't been told to leave. I told everybody, let's turn around. And she's the only person that hadn't been told leave. And I did what I did because of what they said is a very poor excuse for harmful, immature, reckless, or aggressive behavior. I did what I did because I misunderstood what they said is a very poor excuse for harmful, immature, reckless, or toxic behavior. I did what I did because I misunderstood what they meant by what they said is a poor excuse for harmful, immature, negligent behavior. I did what I did because I heard what I wanted to hear. I was listening for an excuse. I was listening for a reason. I did what I did because I heard what I wanted to hear is no excuse for justifying, explaining, or validating the reason or cause of my inappropriate response or behavior. I am not granted permission or authority to abandon what I know is right or say or do anything just because of what they said or that I misunderstood what they said or I misinterpreted what they meant by what they said. The fight really only starts when I respond in the wrong way to what was said. What was said doesn't really have the power to make me do or not do. I get to choose how I respond to what they said. I have the power to choose how I respond to how they said it. And I have the power to control how I react to what I think they meant, or why they meant it, or why they said it, or why I think they said it. I did what I did because of what they said is not always bad. I've listened to the words of other people and made choices and changes that were both beneficial and necessary, but there's a difference between using what somebody said and helping me make a choice and using what somebody says as an excuse to say it caused my behavior. There is a difference between using someone's words as influence and using someone's words as an excuse. Other people's words only have the power I give them, and only have any value to the extent that I use them properly. And if I use them as an excuse, that will not pass. The mission of Heritage Christian University is simple. They aim to advance the churches of Christ by equipping servants through undergraduate and graduate programs. Heritage Christian University produces effective communicators of the gospel, focusing on evangelism and a commitment to Scripture. Heritage Christian University is accredited by the Association for Biblical Higher Education and offers the following degrees: Associate of Arts in Biblical Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Studies, Master of Arts, Master of Ministry, and Master of Divinity. Since 1968, Heritage Christian University, formerly International Bible College, has offered affordable degrees in biblical studies, allowing graduates to thrive in their ministries without the burden of loan debt after graduation. For more information about Heritage Christian University, visit www.hcu.edu. That's 3 W's and a dot. hcu.edu. Heritage Christian University is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Using the tool of shortwave radio, World Christian Broadcasting literally covers the world every day with the gospel. They use 2 large curtain antennas. One is located in Anchor Point, Alaska, and the other in Madagascar. They send out messages that are recorded at their international home in Franklin, Tennessee. They make available 40 hours of broadcast every day. The broadcasts are made in English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, English for Africa, and Arabic. They would love for your group to visit them. You can bring your ladies group, your youth group, or your men's group. Just give them a call at 615-371-8707, 615-371-8707, or you can go to 3 W's and a dot, worldchristian.org, find the Donate Here button, and make a financial contribution to support this work that literally covers the world every day with the gospel. World Christian Broadcasting, in cooperation with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.